don't go back to the room alone. Don't go back to the room alone. I know it's like kind of like a unsettling thing for me to say because we don't want to think that those things can happen at Disney, but they can. Disney cast members have been arrested before. This person could enter your room while you're there alone. They could see you go into your room alone and they say, oh, no, ma'am, come in the room. I'll leave. Don't go in. How to stay safe with Disney room inspections, especially if you're a woman or a younger person. I wanted to do a video on the Disney room inspections, but this is going to be a little bit controversial because I already know how I'm going to have some people in the comments react. But the reality is that the Disney bubble doesn't really exist. We have real people that work real jobs and real things unfortunately can happen. When we go to Disney World, especially Disney World, we want to believe that Disney is a Disney bubble where we escape from the real world, and once we enter the long road with the banner that says Disney World, that we escape from the real world and our real problems. We know for a matter of fact that there have been multiple Disney cast members that have been arrested. You can look it up for yourself. There was unfortunately someone who was in the position of a lifeguard, and that was someone who was unfortunately around, women and young people and in a vulnerable environment with pools and everything. And that is unsettling that this person, from when you read the article, was arrested. They were a lifeguard at the Polynesian resort. You've had Disney cast members that were arrested. I believe they were bus drivers. And those same cast members that were arrested, the lifeguard, the bus driver, these other stories, these cast members, as you know, with Disney occupations, they could have been a number of occupations. Disney has a habit of training their cast members where they will perform and experience multiple different positions or routes along their Disney career. So we don't even know if these cast members at one point were in the position of a housekeeper, were in the position of a room inspector occupation. And I want you to frame it from the perspective of, if these cast members that were arrested were, instead of a bus driver or a lifeguard, which is bad enough, especially the lifeguard, what if they were your room inspector? What if you read an article that your room inspector was the one that was arrested on those same claims? Then you can see how it becomes a little bit more problematic. And as many of you know, Disney performs mandatory Disney room inspections every other day. All of their resorts, whether it be the value, the moderate, or the deluxe resorts. And this is believed to be because of the tragedies that happened at Vegas, and that's why they have instituted this. I've had terrible experiences with the room inspections where I did have a room inspector be extremely unusually rude, borderline crude with me, asking me if I had Haitian in me, looking me up and down. He came back to the room. He stood in the room with the door closed behind his back, asking me if I had anything I wanted to talk to him about, anything I wanted to discuss with him. For that matter, I saw a Disney cast member who, again, seemed to be in some sort of position regarding housekeeping. He was always lingering where the rocking chairs are at Port Orleans. There's like a deck there where it views like the boat that takes you to Disney Springs. And there happened to be, I spent more time at the resort than I did at the parks. And I would notice that this cast member had some sort of routine where it happened to be more women than men that would situate themselves in those rocking chairs. And this cast member knew to like go there and like essentially attempt to strike up conversations with the women there, and it wasn't in a Disney way. It was kind of unsettling. There was a cast member that was, he appeared to be like a maintenance worker, and I encountered him when I was taking a walk from Port Orleans Riverside over to French Quarter, and he was in like a little like maintenance truck, and he was just looking me up and down, and he gave you the feeling of an EBGB type of feeling. Regarding Disney room inspections, Disney, as much as we want it to be a bubble, it's a real place, and you have to stay safe when it comes to Disney room inspections. What does that mean? It means that there are some suggestions that I would particularly like to send towards women and young people who are going to Disney. Women who are going to Disney, let's say you're there with a husband, a boyfriend, a partner, it doesn't matter the, navigation of your relationship, don't go back to your room alone if you're a woman. I'll give you a scenario. You're there with a boyfriend, husband, whatever. You want to go back to the room to get ready. Maybe you want to, it's going to take you longer to get ready. You went swimming. He wants to go to the food court and get a snack. Sometimes we have habits of splitting up where the woman goes back to the room and the man goes off. You don't know potentially if in the event that there were a bad egg cast member, and it's the real world, it happens, they could follow you in. This person could enter your room while you're there alone. They could see you go into your room alone. Make that extra effort to always have someone with you. I especially also, sometimes with families, there may be a habit where, especially with younger guests, someone wants to go back to the room alone. They want to play video games. They want to be in the room alone. The mom wants to go off shopping at the gift shop. Don't do it. Don't leave your younger family members alone. That something like that could happen at Disney, but it is the real world. They've had cast members be arrested before, and you have to, unfortunately, in the world we live, be extra cautious on how to avoid something like that happening. If for some reason, this is another scenario I thought about, if you were a woman and you didn't listen to me and you were going back to the room alone, and let's say you go to the room, you open the door of your room, and as you enter the room, you get startled that there's a housekeeper in your room inspecting your room. And they say, "Oh, no, ma'am, come in the room. I'll leave. Don't go in." Don't, let's say they then step out and they say, "Oh, ma'am, you can go into your room. I'm done here." Don't go into your room. Go out of your way to say to them, even if they cause a protest, and you say, "I am, I forgot something. I'm going to go back to the gift shop. I got to go back to the lobby for something." Make that extra effort to not re-enter the room, even though they said it's okay. If you are alone, go back to the gift shop, waste 20 minutes, 30 minutes, then go back, even if it seems out of your way, because you have to avoid that small percentage that they exit your room, you go in the room, and then they follow you. And these are uncomfortable conversations to have, because most people don't want to believe that something like that could happen. Number one, people feel that could never happen to me. That would never happen at Disney World. Well, we also thought we wouldn't have lifeguards arrested for what they were arrested for at Disney World. We don't like to think that a lifeguard that was working at a deluxe resort surrounded by families, women, and young people could be arrested for something like that, or at least charged for something like that. And that is those are unsettling thoughts. But the reality is, once we can move past the uncomfortable thought process of "I don't want to think that could happen," you can then stay safe. It's easier to say, "Wow, the world is kind of like, wow, this is the world we live in." That is unsettling. But now that I've accepted that and I've moved past that, I now know there are certain steps I can take to better ensure that I am safer in my life. As a woman, I acknowledge that I am more subjected to things than men, and I'm going to make an effort not to go back to my hotel room alone. If someone were in my room and I got startled, I'm going to exit the area and then come back after a certain amount of time that I'm convinced I'm in a safer situation. And use your judgment. Those internal gut feelings you get where you're like, something just doesn't feel right, are usually your internal body trying to protect you and save you. And I think we're taught in society, don't make a stir, don't look at people the wrong way. You don't want to look at someone and make them think that you're looking at them in a weird way. It's better to do that and to stay safe. And a lot of times we're right, unfortunately. So if you're, again, let's say you didn't listen to me and you walk back to your room, and as you're walking back to your room, there's kind of those areas where the housekeepers have laundry. It's kind of like their hub where they take the laundry off the carts, the towels, and then they bring it to the rooms. And depending on where your room is, you may actually pass one of those laundry ports, especially at resorts like Port Orleans Riverside, the Caribbean Beach, those types of setups. If you're walking past and you notice they're kind of looking you up and down and it's just not sitting with you the right way, but you don't want to be that person that like would think that of them, trust your gut, go back to the lobby. It's better to remain safe and go out of your way, even if you feel silly about it and going, you know, that just didn't feel right. This same conversation goes for the deluxe resorts. Resorts like Animal Kingdom have had cast members arrested. Do not assume because a deluxe resort is an interior resort, such as these long corridors like you have at the Animal Kingdom, that you could not have a bad egg follow you down a resort hallway. Do not assume because the Grand Floridian is a deluxe resort, you could not have a cast member do something bad and cause a problem to your safety. These are assumptions we make, and it's better to live in the real world and stay safe. Also, keep in mind with regard to Port Orleans Riverside Resort, that is a resort that is absolutely beautiful. Aesthetically, it is one of my favorite resorts, or was, because of that reason. It feels like a very inclusive resort. You don't even feel like you need to go anywhere because the resort is a destination in itself. And that's why I've been so disappointed to be awoken to the real world where I'm seeing some of these issues. And, you know, some people may not even be aware. Port Orleans Riverside has had multiple issues. They had a sting operation at Port Orleans Riverside but they feared that housekeepers were engaging in activity, that they were stealing from guests, and there was a sting operation actually set up in conjunction with local police where they were able to ascertain that certain cast members were bad eggs at Port Orleans Riverside. There was an incident at Port Orleans Riverside where there was a wanted fugitive. This is the real world. I have also had encounters at Port Orleans Riverside where I was with my family, this was years ago, and I wasn't dressed up or anything. Not that that should be a reason, you know, where like they always like say like, oh, well, girls are dressed up and that's why you got that attention. It was early in the morning and I encountered men that would fit the image of frat boys. And I was with my family and they passed me and they were obviously intoxicated and they were just like cursing me out, calling me a B word, and it was unsettling because if I had been alone, that could have been a very different situation. And we just kept walking quickly because it was a situation where we're encountering, you know, 4 men that are, you know, wiry builds, they're young, and, you know, you're not gonna have a situation where you have a full out, you know, thing happen where they, you know, try to assault you and your family. I also had I've had a few times at Port Orleans Riverside where men that are bad eggs with their partners or wives or families, and they're sitting at like kind of the tables where the pool bar is, and then the wives and maybe the family is in the pool, and the men are, you know, looking me up and down. They may be intoxicated, starting to, you know, you're hearing some words come out of them that sound suggestive, and you're like, oh, time to go. And you don't want to be in that situation where you're calling over Disney security because Disney will go into their notorious Disney mode. Disney mode is where Disney feels that they are their own country, their own legal system. For a while, they kind of have been, and that's now kind of being put to lessened a little bit. But for a long time, Disney has always felt that they are in Disney mode, and that's a situation where even if you are the victim to something, they will try to, you know, essentially get rid of you too. And it's just an overall thing that you try to avoid. People need to stay safe when it comes to Disney room inspections. And that's an unsettling conversation because people would say, what are you saying in this video? Are you saying that as a guest, I need to be mindful of this nice Disney cast member who has just come to my room to do their job? And I'm saying, yeah, you need to be aware. You need to be aware that this is the real world. We don't know who this person is. You know, assuming it's a man, we don't know this man has a criminal record. We don't know who he is. He's coming to your room. You need to be mindful. And you need to take steps to not assume that this person is as Mickey Mouse as we would like them to be. And yeah, this is a real world talk. It can be unsettling to have these talks because what you're doing is you're opening your eyes to something of, what are you saying? It's not the Disney bubble. You're saying I need to be mindful that a Disney cast member comes to my room, could have ill intentions, and unfortunately that's the world we live in. But yeah, this was a video I wanted to make because I feel that especially for the content I make on theme parks. Some of you have found that information helpful as it pertains to, DAS pass and disability passes and that type of stuff. So this is another video I wanted to put out there because I think it's very important for women and younger people, today's world, but was always this way, unfortunately, to stay safe and be mindful of their surroundings, even if in a weird way we've been told not to do those things. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you all, and I will see you soon in my next video, and bye.